Hello, this is Dr. Scott Harrington coming to you live from my doctor's office at veganprimarycare.com, where you can see a vegan doctor as your primary care doctor from the comfort of your own home from most U.S. states. If you live in Florida, I'm also open for in-person visits in Pinellas Park, Florida on Fridays. Come see me not just as a one-time consultation, but as your primary care doctor, someone who gets to know you and someone who can be your health advocate. Because I'm licensed in most US states, even if you move, you don't have to change doctors. If you are vegan, then get a doctor who gets you. If you haven't adopted a plant-based diet yet, you are still welcome to be my patient, of course. But beware, a healthy vegan diet, exercise, and lifestyle changes will always be my first recommendation. My goal is to help you take control of your health. And through the power of a healthy lifestyle, we will work to heal your chronic conditions and help you get off chronic medications. For my patients who cut out animal products, you will not only be helping yourself feel better, but you will also be doing your part to stop animal suffering and to decrease your impact on the environment. Let's do this. Remember that this content is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This video is not intended to take the place of your own doctor's advice. Okay, we are live streaming to multiple platforms and ready to take your questions. All right, we already got several folks in on Facebook and Twitch. We've got some folks on Twitch too. All right. Go ahead and hit like. If you like coming and talking to Dr. Harrington, go ahead and hit like. And let's go to the comments. Hello, we've got Kathy Tarr. Happy Wednesday. Hey, Kathy. Thanks for being here. All right. So I wanted to address something that I found lately. All right. Andrew McMarlin. It's so good to see you too, brother. All right. Go Navy, go Army. Oh, man. So, hey, we're all on the same team. We're all on the same team. That's what I say. All right. Well, it's good to see you guys. And I wanted to, one of the tools, I found a very cool tool for physicians and patients alike that I wanted to bring to the table today. All right. We've got, all right, Christian Karna. Hey, Christian. And Darlene Cox. How's it going, Darlene? All right. Welcome. All right. So I'm looking at a different screen. There is something put out by the Mayo Clinic called Care That Fits. Care That Fits. And on the Care That Fits website, they have these very interesting tools called shared medical decision-making tools. Shared medical decision-making tools. And what's very interesting about this is a lot of times when you go to the doctor, they say, well, why should I be on cholesterol medicine, or why should I be on medicine for osteoporosis, something to prevent something from happening. And the doctor will say, like, well, if you take the medicine, you're 50 to 75% less likely to have this problem occur. But then when you look at the actual numbers for fracture or something like this, the actual numbers are pretty low. And with the medicine, they're lower, but they can say that the percent is 50% lower. But, 50% if it's 2 in 1,000 or, 1.5 in 1,000 people, versus those numbers are small numbers. And it sounds like a big benefit when it's actually a mild benefit. And I'm not saying this to sort of say, all medicine is evil. What I'm saying is that the healthy lifestyle and the healthy diet and everything, it should always be number one, because the medicine is not as powerful sometimes as we think it is. So yes, so these cool decision-making tools for physicians and for patients alike, they're for both shared decision-making. They're on something called carethatfits.org, and it's put out by the Mayo Clinic. And there's some very good topics there on depression medications, statin medications, and osteoporosis medications. And so we can maybe even pull it up here if you'd like here in a minute. Let's greet some folks who came in. All right, Kristen Ali's, good to see you here. Oh, is there a treadmill in my future? Okay. Uh-oh, Kristen, you've called me out. You've called me out, Kristen. So just for that, I think I'm going to have to turn on my treadmill. All right. All right, here we go. All right, treadmill is rolling. Okay, I am. I'm on my treadmill, just like Dr. Greger. He did influence me. But honestly, I mean, walking on the treadmill, it actually kind of tires you out after a long day. You know, believe it or not, it makes me feel a little bit more tired. And I got an oil mine is kind of squeaky. So anyway, if you're on and hear a squeak, it's because of my treadmill. All right. Thanks for keeping me on the straight and narrow, Kristen, because I need to walk the walk if I'm going to talk the talk, right? Okay. All right. Andrew says, I love the philosophy and practice. Be well. Hey, thanks, Andrew. Andrew's a longtime friend all the way back from medical school. Really good to see you. And thanks for being here, brother. Cindy Rodriguez. Romeo, hello. How's it going? All right. Kristen's giving me some high fives and some claps for being on my treadmill. All right. Might as well be walking the walk, right? Okay. Well, folks, go ahead and put on any questions that you may have, and we'll go from there. Ka-chow on my treadmill. Okay. I think what I might do is I might go ahead and share my screen and show this cool website, The Care That Fits, the Mayo Clinic. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see if we can do this here. All right, how about this? Okay, let's see. How about this? Let's try to share my screen. Okay. Oh, okay. Well, it's not a very big one. Let's try to make it. Let's change it a little bit. Let's see if we can get it changed. Oh, okay. Here we go. That's good. Care That Fits. Okay. So this is a website called Care That Fits, and it's put out by the Mayo Clinic. And here we go. Osteoporosis Choice. Look at this. Look at this cool site here. Osteoporosis Choice. It will go over whether you're high or low or elevated risk. And let's say you have an elevated risk. Let's say based on these risk factors, you put in your information, and let's say your elevated risk is 10 to 30%. So then without medication, 20 and 100 will have a fracture within the next 10 years and 80 will not. But if you take the bisphosphonates, 12 and 100 will have a fracture and 88 will not. And so 8 will have been avoided because of the medication. And then it goes over what are the downsides. The downsides, for instance, $30 a month if out of pocket or without insurance is $70 to $90 a month. And, people having problems with bisphosphonates or upsetting the stomach. 1 in 10,000 will have a sore jaw, that kind of thing, and may need surgery. And so it goes over the risks, and it really helps put things in perspective for people because you can decide, man, do I want to take a medication for this for the next 10 years? Maybe I'll be in this group here that doesn't have a fracture. But you can't blame doctors for saying, hey, it's almost a 50% improvement. It is, but over what? So this is a very cool tool. This is the Mayo's Clinic Care That Fits site. Okay, let's go over let's go ahead and go over some cool things about the practice, vegan primary care practice. We're just going to go over this really quick. Here's my licenses. We have mostly the green states are all active licenses, and the blue states are temporary licenses with the COVID. So while COVID is raging, I'll have licenses there, and we're working on getting more licenses. Just to let you know, we use here in Vegan Primary Care an accountability app called the 8 app. I tell you about this a lot because it's so awesome. It's so awesome. You can really see what each other's eating. I put on all my food that I eat, and I share it with my patients, and my patients can see what I eat. And if they let me, I can see what they eat. And that way we can have direct talk and know exactly what's going on. It's great and it's fun, and it doesn't go on Facebook or anything. It's just between whoever you share it with. Every Tuesday night at 7 p.m., we have a Get to Your Goal weight loss meeting where we talk about what went right and what went wrong over the week and keep you on the straight and narrow path of the whole food plant-based diet with no salt, oil, or sugar. Folks who I see as and their primary care doctor for, we create this members-only Facebook site, Vegan Primary Care Members Only, where just the members, so it's not a public site, just can share stories and share recipes and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. Okay. All right. So let's go over, let's see if I can get this working here. Okay, so I can't see I can't see my screen. I can't see the comments for a moment, but I just wanted to go over natural food. Natural food. I mean, it tastes great. It tastes great compared to food that's been processed and the nutrients is taken out. There's nothing better than natural food. Like to me, the most wonderful tasting thing in the whole wide world is a ripe peach. A ripe peach in the summer, and it's juicy. You bite into it. It's got a great texture, a great mouthfeel. It's got a high water content. It doesn't make you thirsty. It smells amazing. It's got a great taste. And when you bite into it, your body says thank you. You know it feels good. And it's just different with processed foods. I mean, when you eat processed foods, it's dry. It makes you thirsty. You need to drink water just to get it down. It's just, it might be sweet or it might be sweetened or something like that, but it just doesn't taste right. Once you start getting on a natural plant-based diet, you can, you sense when you're doing wrong simply from the way you get used to eating. Because natural foods have very low calorie density. You can't overeat them. It's very hard to. They fill up your stomach. They're high in fiber. So many good things we can go into, but I'm going to go to the answering questions. And this slide just highlights, you've seen this in Forks Over Knives. This highlights how the higher calorie density, it doesn't fill up your stomach. So you're going to be prone to eating more food, eating more calories, and gaining weight, not feeling satisfied, not feeling nourished. This is just a kind of a breakdown of some of the calories. The yellow light here, like Dr. McDougall's yellow light, are things like dried fruit, avocado, foods that are very, very, very rich, processed carbs, that kind of thing. Nuts, nut butters, these are going to be higher in calorie density, and they may cause you to gain weight, so you be careful with those. Okay, I'm going to stop my screen sharing. All right, here we are. We are back in full answer question mode. Here we go. Okay, we're going back up to the top. Okay, Vanessa says, do you accept Florida health insurance AvMed yet? We do not, unfortunately. So Cigna, Aetna, Medicare, TRICARE, those are the major ones right now. Okay, share your thoughts on the COVID vaccine. Okay, I am pro-vaccination. I'm a military doctor. I have had every vaccine out there. Probably there might be one or two that I haven't had. I've had the smallpox shot. I got a big scar on my arm. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. The COVID, people are dying of the COVID. There's a pandemic right now. I know that it sounds like, I'm talking down. I'm not talking down to anybody. Get the COVID shot, get it for yourself, get it for your family, get it for your country. We're being shut down because we're trying to stop the pandemic. Definitely get it. It was a very rapid production. But it was from 30 years of research on the development and able to perform the mRNA vaccine. It's great technology, and it's fascinating. You give your body the mRNA, the body makes the spike proteins from the virus. It produces these spike proteins, and your body senses them as foreign, so they develop antibodies. The problem, well, I guess what we were sort of led to believe was that the vaccine would make it so that you would never get the virus. And that's not totally true, but the severity is greatly diminished. But some people don't their immune response is not robust, and they still have problems with the vaccine. I mean, with the virus, getting the virus. So you have to think to yourself, look, COVID's coming. I'm going to get the virus. Do I want to get the virus without having any immunity to it? No, I want to be ready. I want my body to be prepared. It's like Boy Scout motto, like be prepared. Take the vaccine so your body's ready, so it can hit it with a left-right punch as soon as it gets to your body, so you don't get a severe reaction, a severe infection, and wind up in the ICU. So I can't be clearer on that. I know there's a lot of fear associated with it, and there's concerns about liberty and mandates. But in this day and age where people are dying, do it for yourself, do it for your family, and do it for your country. Okay. The shot has no animal products in the shot. It was tested on animals, and here at Vegan Primary Care, we think that's not ethically correct, and that's shameful to have to hurt animals at this time. In order to get FDA approval, they have to test it on animals, and they're working. Folks like the Physicians Committee of Responsible Medicine is working to end animal testing, which I support. Ending animal testing, coming up with other ways to test on tissues that are not from sentient beings. Okay. We will go with, all right, Kola Cherie. So I was hearing PETA approved the Pfizer vaccine. Well, I'm not sure if they have, but I know the vaccine contains no animal products. There is a cholesterol component in Pfizer in the lipid nanoparticle, the coating of the mRNA vaccine. And this was made with plant sterols. So that's very interesting. It's not made from animal products. All right. Margarita Caello says, what's the best way to balance your hormones? Best way to balance your hormones is to be your 18-year-old weight. To be your 18-year-old weight. What do I mean by that? Well, fat cells have a hormonal effect on your body. They are in a way, part of an endocrine system, your hormone system, because they affect your hormones. They can esterify testosterone, for instance, and they can increase your estrogen. And so family doctors will test things like thyroid and can test for certain hormones. But for the most part, the body is the number one best at regulating hormones. And every time we try to add a hormone here or there and we try to add to the system, a lot of times we end up kind of chasing our tail or messing it up. The body does it best. The body does it best. So oftentimes it's trying to stay out of the way of the body, retesting and double checking. Don't jump on a hormone treatment, because once you start introducing hormones to your body with pills and thyroid medicine, then you are on a cycle of testing changing the dose, testing and changing the dose. So don't be excited about jumping on a hormonal treatment until you recheck and make sure that it's the right thing to do. That's kind of one thing. The other thing is being on a whole food plant-based diet helps people moderate their weight and get down to your 18-year-old weight. And there are rare hormonal problems related to, tumors and deficiencies and receptors that are genetically abnormal. But this is more rare. For the most part, getting down to your 18-year-old weight, most people have no hormonal problems. That's the best way to balance them. Okay, Kathy. Kathy says, this is great information. I bet she was talking about the shared decision making. I think is great too. All right. Thanks, Kathy. All right. Vanessa, maybe a vaccine question. Okay. Cindy says, I have a question about blood work during the first annual checkup. Maybe you do blood work differently since you know that your patients are vegan? Okay. Yes, we make sure to include B12 and D3. If we check the cost, sometimes D3 increases the cost of the labs. So, but for the most part, when you see your family doctor, they may check out an anemia check called a CBC, a chemistry, which includes liver and kidney panel, a diabetes check called hemoglobin A1C, and a lipid panel. And they may or may not throw in a thyroid panel, depending if you have fatigue and this sort of thing. But B12 is important to test if you have been away from animal products for a certain amount of time. And so we would test B12, but B12 can be problematic when you test it. Unless it's very high, you're clear that you have high B12. If you're in the mid-range, it can be confusing. The mid-range could suggest that you're actually B12 deficient. And so there's a follow-up test called methylmalonic acid in the urine. And it's kind of a weird test, but that's the way to test. I usually start with B12 because methylmalonic acid may be a little bit more expensive. And I'm very cost conscious when we order the testing. I don't like to just, I'm kind of a minimalist. We like to try to get away with as little as possible because that can cause added costs and a lot of confusion sometimes. So that's what we do. All right. Christian Carna says, what foods are good for osteoporosis? Okay. Well, if the question is what foods contain calcium and vitamin K and this kind of thing, the answer is beans, greens, and grains. Beans, greens, and grains. I'm kind of a minimalist. I said this before, but when you start looking at these various minerals and stuff, like zinc or something, it's a little bit more esoteric. Yeah. And you look around and it's like, beans, grains, and grains. It's where it's all these nutrients are really high. But with osteoporosis, it's important to get calcium. Calcium are in beans, greens, and grains. Specifically, greens are really high. You can, if you have osteoporosis, you want to take up to 1,200 milligrams of calcium, which is really high. And they have determined that taking calcium in the pill form in a very high level can increase your clotting risk. It's where calcium pills went from a miracle to a curse. This happened to us several times in modern medicine. When they did the Nurses' Health study and they had a group on the calcium pills at a high dose, they found that they had higher risks for clotting illnesses like heart attack and stroke and that kind of thing. So the recommended is to get your nutrients from your food. How do you make sure that you do that? Well, I really like this app called Chronometer. With Chronometer, you can enter in, you can log your food. It's very time consuming, so you might only want to do it for 1 or 2 days worth of food logs, and you can find out your dose of calcium. And so if you have osteoporosis, you may want to supplement up to about 1,200, the lowest possible amount, depending on what you're typically eating. So that's kind of what I recommend. The number one thing for osteoporosis prevention is making sure that you're getting enough calories and nutrients and that you're including weight-bearing activities. weight-bearing activities are going to put stress on the bones and cause them to, incorporate more calcium and build your bones. The astronauts that fly up into space and have no gravity on their bones start to have their bones dissolve because it's truly a use it or lose it situation. So as we get older, we want to keep doing some activities, stay active, use your bones, get some stress on the bones. You'll retain the calcium in the bones. Okay. So we have got Kimberly Romero says, what info can you give about fermented foods and kombucha? Okay. Well, my assumption is that people feel that these fermented foods are super healthy because they increase the gut microbiome and this sort of thing. And I think what's happened, my impression of this is what's happened is the idea of the fermented foods being sort of very, very beneficial is kind of overplayed. I can't overplay enough the idea of fiber and insoluble and soluble fibers being the most important thing that gets down into our gut for gut health. Also, a variety of different plant foods. You can kind of think of your microbiome almost like you think of an ecosystem in other places. You'd rather a very healthy ecosystem, one that's mature, is very diverse. You think of a rainforest with all different thousands and thousands of species. And then ecosystems that's not very healthy is something that is like a clear-cut scenario or farming scenario where it's all a monocrop. And so this is not a very healthy situation. So you want to have a diverse amount of different plant foods in your fecal stream to feed your microbiome. And, fermented foods can play a role, but I don't think that people should shy away from all the fiber and stuff like that and use kombucha over that. I think that it's kind of a little bit overrated. So use the kombucha for, because you like it, because it tastes good, or because, it can be maybe like almost like an alcohol alternative, sometimes if you're having a social event, instead of alcohol, try some kombucha or something, and it kind of makes you feel like you're, having fun or something. It's like a different thing. But I think it might be overemphasized the benefits of these types of foods, sauerkraut and kombucha and these kind of things, when compared to just straight up soluble and insoluble fibers from a diverse plant-based diet. Okay, Kimberly, hope that worked for you. All right. Okay, Rosalie says, I'm glad that you advocate COVID shot. Thank you, Rosalie. Okay, Cindy says, like checking for thyroid disease, anemia, etc. Yes, we went over that. Yes, absolutely. All right. Cola Cherie says, do you have a link to your shared screen transcripts? I don't. I'm so sorry. About that. All right, we've got lots of stuff coming in. Okay, if you have specific medical questions about your health that you want me to answer, go ahead and talk to me on DMs or reach out to my office number. I'll put it in here. My office phone number, 727-222-3036, is a Vegan Primary Care office number. The question was about whether osteoporosis medicine is something helpful. That was why I discussed this shared decision-making processes. If you have a high risk of osteoporosis, or you've had a osteoporotic fracture in the past, a spontaneous fracture, yes, medicine is more likely to be beneficial for you. So it depends on your risk and depends on the side effects that you get with the medications. So having high doses of calcium through whole food and supplementing up, weight-bearing exercises, staying active, and then talking to your doctor about potential osteoporosis medications. All right. Okay, Cola Shree says, do you accept Humana? I do not at this time. I do not. I do see patients for cash. It's $150 for the first hour visit. Then it's $75 for 30-minute visits. Most things can be done in the first hour. You get set up with a chart, and we can order labs and all this sort of things. So some of my patients have insurance, but they pay cash if I don't have the same insurance. Okay. We're starting to get towards the end here. All right. Okay, here we go. Pamela Hontham says, I was told to take K with D3 since my levels are always low. What's your opinion on that? Okay, Pam. One of the things I recommend is if you're already taking D3 and vitamin D3, we want to take about 2,000 international units per day, and that will get us over 30. Native populations who are in the sun a lot have it up to about 100. And so it seems like we get more and more benefit the higher we are. So if 2,000 isn't working and you've been taking 2,000 routinely, you may have to up it to 5,000. So vitamin K is in most greens, beans, and grains at high doses. So you don't, I haven't recommended my patients having to take the vitamin K with the vitamin D at this time, because I want my patients not to have to take another supplement, another thing, when they can get it from whole food. So it is a good idea that your body has a vitamin D when you're vitamin K with the vitamin D, but it can be obtained by whole food. Vitamin D is a fat soluble medicine, so you want to be taking it with food anyway. So I haven't made this recommendation in my patients as a blanket approach, but that's a good question, Pam. Okay. Haley Curtis says, how do we trust vegan nutrition is bioavailable for our bodies as meat eaters' nutrients? Well, I guess that's a good question, Haley. That's a good question. So I guess one of the problems with meat is that it's so bioavailable. It really drives processes, and when we eat meat, we get a high absorption of these heme iron, the hemoglobin iron, and the meat proteins and the estrogens from the cow milk and stuff like that. We are absorbing them at high rates. And these can actually be detrimental. They can cause growth of different things. So, but I like where you're coming from it, because that is a very common concern. Am I going to get enough nutrients from a vegan diet, a plant-based diet? Doesn't that not absorb as well? So what's really cool about the idea of a plant-based diet is the body is going to absorb what it needs. And it doesn't have it isn't almost like a forced effect when you're eating the high bioavailable foods. It drives metabolic processes, and I guess it's kind of like hitting fast forward on your metabolism. Fast forward. You want your metabolism to be slow. You want to live a long time, like the slow turtle. Not the fast hare. You don't want to burn out. So plant-based, sometimes the thought is, well, when you compare omnivores versus plant-based folks or vegan folks, maybe it's the omnivores are not getting enough nutrients because they're crowding out all the folate and calcium and all the different minerals and things by the animal products, which are actually really devoid in a lot of these things like vitamin C and this. So you might be crowding out some of the more nutritious foods. Like, for instance, if you ate a sandwich versus a salad is loaded with all sorts of vitamins and minerals, and sandwich is not that loaded with nutrients. So you can kind of look at it like that. But yes, animal products are highly absorbable, and sometimes these drive processes that you don't want them to, like, increasing IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, that can cause growth of tumors and stuff like that. So that's a very good question, Haley. But in general, as Western diet folks, we are overfed. And so Usually the lack of nutrition is not the concern. The concern is that we're being overfed. Okay, Alicia says, okay, my husband has high triglycerides ever since his 20s, and it runs in his families. I believe it's hard to get accurate blood work. He's on medicine. What foods are good and what should be avoided? Is the same as traditional diet for people with high cholesterol? Well, yes. I found that triglycerides and sugar go hand in hand. So things like when you have triglycerides, you want to avoid what I call the free sugars or the fast sugars, the sugars that aren't associated with fiber, that aren't things like high fructose corn syrup and things like that. These things can raise your triglycerides. Eating carbs that have been processed a lot, like white flour, and this is going to raise it. And you can, even if you're losing weight, there's some amount of triglycerides that are mobilized, and can sometimes, when you're losing weight, you're starting a plant-based diet, and this is, you can see some of those at that time too. So you want to test, you want to really get your good tests when you're on a very stable weight. And so it is very similar to cholesterol, though, in a way. Let's talk about cholesterol. Vegans sometimes have high cholesterol. You say, gosh, why would a vegan have high cholesterol? They're not consuming any cholesterol. Well, the body produces its own cholesterol. In omnivores, 80% of their cholesterol is from their own person, their own liver, and 20% is from their diet. But in vegans, it's 100%. So there's two mechanisms by which vegans would have high cholesterol. So one is saturated fat. Saturated fat greases up the receptor that pulls cholesterol back into the liver. The liver recycles the cholesterol. So it makes it problematic for the receptor to grab the cholesterol, the saturated fat. So you want to avoid saturated fat. It will lower your cholesterol by watching out for coconut oil, watching out for palm oil that they put in peanut butter or nut butters to make them solid at room temperature, and cocoa butter. These tropical fats have saturated fat. They're solid at room temperature. And in other fats in your diet, oils and stuff like that, you want to avoid them. You want to try to limit them. And then the second way that vegans end up with high cholesterol is through the bile recycling process. Lipids are used and cholesterol is used in the production of bile. Bile comes down into the intestines to help you emulsify and absorb lipids and fats and cholesterol. So, but most of it gets recycled. But you can stop this recycling problem a little bit and get rid of some of those lipids by eating diets high in plant sterols, high in soluble fibers. These fibers that are real sticky. When you think of like okra, how it's kind of slimy, or eggplant slimy, or even the gel-like properties of things like ground flaxseed and chia. These things kind of hold on to these bile-type substances and help you pass it, and it makes you have lower cholesterol. We've all seen this in the Cheerios. Cheerios has the heart bowl on there. The sterols and oats help you pass cholesterol. So that's why it lowers it. But there's nothing specifically special about Cheerios. In fact, oats is what's much better. Whole grain oats and beans is very high in these soluble fibers that help you to pass this stuff and lower your cholesterol. All right, Alicia. All right, well, we've got some more questions here. All right. Okay. What do I typically eat for lunch? Okay, Haley, when I'm doing good, when I'm doing well, I'm eating a salad plus make a bean burrito. I used to eat a salad and a papaya with lime. I love papaya. But oftentimes when I'm busy, I just have a natural peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But I'm always trying to get greens past my lips. I start to tire of greens over time, but when I'm doing the right thing, I've made a non-oil dressing, or I use hummus or salsa, and I can get some salad in my body. That's ideal. But a lot of times the people on my 8 app will say, hey, he had a banana and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and went back to work, so that's very common. Sometimes I'll have a bean burrito or an Amy's frozen samosa, kind of. It's kind of like a burrito, but Indian. They're delicious. All right. Thanks, Haley. We've got another question from Haley. She says, if we want to study nutrition, what's the best course you've heard of? There's lots of courses. Probably the Cornell course is the best. Probably the plant-powered Cornell plant-based nutrition course is touted as one of the best. I haven't taken it myself, but the folks that have been there have great insight, and it's been very helpful to them. Okay. Haley says, thank you. You're awesome for doing these. I really appreciate that. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit like for me. Hit like, smash the likes. And I see we've got some folks mostly on Facebook. Smash the like if you haven't already. Okay. Here is a good link from Kathy Tarr for Haley. She says all of this information is free on Dr. McDougall's website. He is definitely one of my mentors, Dr. McDougall, and here is his 12-day program for free. Thank you, Kathy. All right. Okay, here's a question, and this might be the last question here. Is it true you can't be a vegan with type 1 diabetes? Okay, good question, Haley. It's definitely not true. People who have type 1 diabetes should actually go on a plant-based diet, a diet high in fruits and vegetables and whole grains, this sort of thing. You want to be very low in fat, and it can overall reduce the amount of insulin you need. Type 1 diabetics require insulin. Their pancreas isn't producing enough insulin. And so there's no way around it. You can't cure yourself from type 1 diabetes. Maybe one day they'll figure out a way to use stem cells in the pancreas to create the pancreas cells that will produce insulin. But right now, that is not something that we have available. So people will be stuck using insulin. But high doses of insulin are problematic. So you want your body to be able to be very sensitive to the insulin, and being on a plant-based diet can help decrease this. The authors of Mastering Diabetes both have type 1 diabetes, and they have created a whole educational platform around that. And so, yeah, if you know someone who has diabetes, go ahead and refer them over there to the website Mastering Diabetes. It is great info. All right. Yes. Kathy Tarr. Kathy is being, my helper here today. This is awesome. Here's a book about the Mastering Diabetes. All right. Thank you. Okay, folks, I think that'll be it for me today. But thank you so much for joining in. And if you have any questions, reach out by direct message, and go vegan. Hang in there.